Hello, everyone. Welcome to Board Gamers. My name is Dave,
And I'm Dirk.
and today we're going to look at the second scenario pack we got, the Wrecking Crew. So the Wrecking Crew is actually 4 villains, and this is the first of the multi-villain scenario that we ever had.
It is 4 villains simultaneously.
Right. And each villain has its own separate deck. And the other thing that was different about the Wrecking Crew is that you don't add the standard, you don't add any modules. So you pretty much have everything was built into that package. So if you were new to the game, you could buy the Wrecking Crew and a hero pack and try it out. So it'd be like, okay, I'll buy Captain America, I'll buy the Wrecking Crew, and I don't need the base game.
Yeah, good luck buying Captain America now.
Well, yeah, back in the day, I guess. But yeah, like, okay, so Winter Soldier. It's like, oh, I want to try Marvel Champions, but I don't want to invest in the base box. Okay, here you go. You can do the Wrecking Crew, and you don't even need the base box for standard sets. To me, that makes this scenario a little repetitive. So at the end of this, we got some suggestions on how you can tweak it, but that is all house, custom rules, and we'll go over that.
Yeah, and the one thing that's of note about this one is, like Dave said, I mean, since they've each got their own separate deck, there are other multi-villain modules or scenarios, but this is the only one to where each villain has their own deck. All the rest of them, the villains will share a deck.
Yeah, like the Four Horsemen, for example.
Yeah.
But not only, and we'll go over these individually as we go, but not only does each one have its own deck, it actually
has its own main scheme as well.
Side scheme.
They all considered
but they're permanent. Yeah.
Okay, they are side.
They're side scheme. So yeah, so like Jessica, she's thwarting for 5 because you got that plus the main scheme. Yeah, so she's like amazing against the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, and one thing about this scenario though, as you defeat a villain or whatever, their deck and side scheme and everything will go away.
Right.
So that is kind of the goal, is you have to defeat all 4 of them, but you're not trying to take them all 4 out at one time. You're just basically trying to knock out whoever is going to be the worst one for you, probably.
Okay.
I mean, or either that or whichever is going to be the easiest, whichever route you want to try.
Okay. So let's look at the cards.
Okay, so whenever we're setting up the breakout scenario here, so this is the main scheme, and you will make sure you want to get Wrecker, Thunderball, Piledriver, and Bulldozer, and if you're playing on standard, you're going to have them the A variant of the card, and if you're playing on expert, you're going to have the B side of them, and then you are going to get each of their encounter decks. You don't, like Dave said earlier, there's no modules, there's no standard set or anything else. And then as part of setup, you're going to put the Day of Reckoning, Thunderstruck, pile it on, and clear the road side schemes into play. Those are the different side schemes each one of them has. And then you're going to place the active counter on Wrecker. And then you're going to flip this over and continue.
Okay. So then side 1B is breakout. 6 threat per player. You add only 1 threat per turn, though. So not 1 threat per player, but 1 threat per turn. Force response. After step 1 of the villain phase, place 1 threat on each side scheme. Move the active counter to the villain whose scheme has the most threat. And if there's a tie, the first player gets to choose. And if this stage is ever completed, the players lose the game. So when we play 2 players, if you ignore this, you basically have 12 turns to
knock everybody
out, or without thwarting this scheme, I guess, basically. Okay. So we're going to start with Wrecker because that's who they recommend for. It's the first starting villain.
All right, so Wrecker on side A, he's got 14 hit points per player. He thwarts for 2, he attacks for 2, and whenever he schemes, you're going to place threat on his side scheme instead of the main scheme. And then while he's attacking, he gets +2 attack if the attack is undefended.
Okay. Then if you're playing expert, you got side B, which is 18 hit points per player. He's a 3/3. The scheming rules is the same, so he places threat on the side scheme. Spoiler, they all do.
Yes.
And when Wrecker is attacking, he gets +2 attack, and if the attack is undefended,
Yeah, so that part's the
he
same.
would hit for 5. Okay, so his side scheme.
So his side scheme is the Day of Reckoning, and this one, again, it's permanent, so it doesn't get to leave play as long as he is in play. But hard hitter, so as a forced response, after threat is placed here, if there is at least 10 threat here, and I think all of them have the cap of 10, or if there's 10 or more here, you're going to deal 2 damage to each friendly character and then remove all but 3 threat. It does initially come out with 6, but then again, like I said, each time it resets after that, it resets back to 3.
Right. And on step 1, you're adding 1 to each side scheme in addition to the main scheme. So
yes.
it's always going up. But yeah, whenever it gets 10, then it pops, you do its power, and then go back to 3. All the side schemes do that.
Yes.
All right. So the first card in his deck is Held Hostage. Attached to the active villain side scheme. Threat cannot be removed from the attached scheme by thwarting. Hero action. The villain corresponding to the attached side scheme attacks you. Then you discard.
Yeah, so this one is all of these decks will have cards that attach to whichever villain is currently active. But whenever you discard them back to this villain's deck.
Right. And as we go through these different decks, you're going to see some of these cards are the same, but then there are unique ones for each villain. So we've got the Magic Crowbar is +1 attack attached to Wrecker. After Wrecker attacks, place 1 threat on the side scheme with the least threat. Hero action, exhaust your hero and discard 1 card at random from your hand to discard.
And it gives Wrecker +1 attack while it's attached to him.
I said that.
Oh, did you? Okay. Then we've got Wrecker's Command. This one you attach to him as well. It gives a +1 scheme. But force response after he schemes, you're going to place 1 threat on each other villain's side scheme. And then you can spend 2 strength as a hero action to discard this.
Okay. Then we got a minion, Corrupt Prison Guard, 0 scheme, 2 attack, 3 hit points. He's a traitor, and he has guard.
We've got the Escape Convict minion. He's a criminal with 2 hit points. He schemes for 1. He attacks for 1. This one does have Surge whenever he comes out. And if he comes out as a boost, you're going to move the active counter to the villain whose side scheme has the least threat. And if you're in hero form, that villain's going to attack you after this attack. And that attack does not get a boost.
Okay. Then we got the Buddy system. When revealed, choose the villain whose side scheme has the least threat. Reveal the top card of his deck. Top 2 cards instead if it's the only villain left. And as a boost, move the active counter to the villain whose side scheme has the least threat.
We've got Chaos Imprison. When this treachery is revealed, you're going to choose to either discard an upgrade you control or place 1 threat on the active villain side scheme for each upgrade you control. And if you don't control any upgrades, the card gets Surge. As a boost, if this attack is undefended, then you're going to discard an upgrade you control.
Okay. Then we got 2 copies of Crowbar Toss. When revealed, alter ego, Wrecker schemes, then move the active villain counter to the villain whose side scheme has the least threat. And hero, Wrecker attacks you, then move the active villain counter to the villain whose side scheme has the least threat. So you can kind of control in the beginning of the villain phase who's going to be the active villain because, you know, the way you thwart, but then these cards messes with that.
Yeah, these cards have a good chance of moving it around unless you have the one that you want to be thwart substantially lower. And that can be a little bit difficult, especially when there's 4 of them and they're all getting stuff moved around. All right, so you've got the Get Wrecked. When this treachery is revealed, if you're an alter ego, the villain whose side scheme has the most threat schemes. And if you're in hero form, the villain whose side scheme has the least threat attacks you.
Okay. Then we got, I've been waiting for this. When revealed, the active villain has 3 hit points. Give that villain a tough status card. Move the active counter to the villain with the least threat on his side scheme, and then the villain schemes.
Okay. All right. Then we've got 2 copies of the Mystical Link. So whenever this treachery is revealed, you're going to place 2 threat on each side scheme. And if it comes out as a boost, Wrecker's going to get +3 attack for the activation unless you place 2 threat on his side scheme. So it does give you an option there.
Okay. Then we got your dead meat. When revealed, deal 1 damage to the hero or ally with the fewest remaining hit points. If that character is defeated this way, place 3 threat on Wrecker's side scheme. Now, these decks, you can see there's 18 cards. So the villain is 2 of them. So that's two, and then the side scheme. So there are 15 cards. So every time you go through one of these decks, you're adding an acceleration token to the main scheme.
Yep.
So that's something to kind of keep track of as well. So that's part of the game, is deciding who you want to be the villain, because you're going to be getting boost cards and encounter cards from their small deck.
And of course, part of their game is switching that up on you without you being able to control it.
Right. All right.
All right. Now we're going to move on to Bulldozer. So Bulldozer on side A, which is the standard side, he gets 12 hit points per player. He thwarts for 1. He attacks for 3. And again, just like with all the others, whenever he schemes, you're going to put it on his side scheme instead of the main. But as a force interrupt, whenever he attacks, the attack gains overkill. So all of his attacks will have overkill.
Yeah. So he's all about taking out
your minions.
Taking out your minions and overkilling on you.
I got to say it. Taking out your allies.
Yes. Then stage B is 15 hit points per player, 2 thwart, 3 attack. When he attacks, it's the main scheme. Side schemes are the main scheme. That part's the same. And then when Bulldozer attacks, gains overkill. So basically, his hit points went up, and his
stats go up, but everything else stayed the same.
Went up.
All right. So his side scheme is clear the road. It doesn't leave play as long as he's in play. And it comes in with 4 threat the first time it comes out. But as a charge is the force response. So after threat's placed here, again, if there's 10, then you're going to remove all but 3 of them. And what he does is each player discards the top 10 cards of their deck whenever this one pops. So,
and then you remove all but 3.
Yep. I said that. I remember that.
All right. Then we got Bulldozer's helmet, +1 attack attached to Bulldozer. After Bulldozer attacks you, discard 1 card from the top of your deck for each point of damage dealt by this attack. And as a hero action, exhaust your hero and discard 1 card at random from your hand to discard this card.
Boo. All right. So you've got Held Hostage. So this one's, you're going to attach it to the active villain side scheme. Threat can't be removed while the attached scheme from the attached scheme by thwarting. So you can remove it other ways. You cannot, just not with thwarting. And as a hero action, the villain corresponding to the attached side scheme attacks you, and you can discard this card. So you let them attack you.
Yeah, so this is the same card we saw at Wrecker. Yeah. So you'll see that each deck has some of the same cards. All right, then we got 2 copies of Ramming Speed, gives you +2 attack, attached to Bulldozer. When Bulldozer attacks you, you must defend against Bulldozer's attack with an ally you control, if able. And then force response, after Bulldozer attacks you, discard. Because again, Bulldozer has overkill, so he wants to get rid of your minions. So his overkill works.
All right. Then we've got Corrupt Prison Guard. This one is the same as the one that we saw previously.
Same thing with the Escaped Convict. Same thing with the Buddy system.
All right, we've got 2 copies of Bull Rush here. So when this treachery is revealed, if you're an alter ego, Bulldozer is going to scheme, and then you will discard the top card of your deck for each threat placed. And if you're in hero form, he's going to attack, and again, you'll discard a card for each point of damage.
Okay. Then we got Chaos in the Prison. I don't know if we saw this one or not.
Nope, not this one.
When revealed, choose to either discard an upgrade you control or place 1 threat on the active villain side scheme for each upgrade you control. If you do not control any upgrades, this attack gains surge, and as a boost, if the attack is undefended, you discard an upgrade you control.
Wait, that sounds like one we saw.
I thought it was, because it doesn't talk about.
Oh no, it is. Okay.
Okay.
It is one. Yeah.
It didn't talk about him specifically. So
yeah. All right. Then we've got
another one I think we saw.
Yeah. Get wrecked. Yeah. Yeah, we've seen this one already.
Okay, but this is a new one.
This one's a new one. So Headbutt, we've got 2 copies of this. Whenever this one's revealed, you're going to discard a card at random from your hand. And if you're in hero form, you're going to take damage equal to its printed cost. If you're an alter ego, you're going to place threat on Bulldozer side scheme equal to that card's printed cost.
All right, then we got 2 copies of Leading the Charge. When revealed, discard the top X cards of your deck, where X is Bulldozer's attack. Place 1 threat on Bulldozer's side scheme for each different card type discarded this way.
All right. All right, then we are going to move on to Piledriver. So on the standard side, A side, he's got 11 hit points per player. He thwarts for 2. He attacks for 2. He has Retaliate 1. And then, of course, it's the same whenever he schemes. It goes on his side scheme.
All right. And then side B, he's got 14 hit points per player, 2 thwart, 3 attack, retaliate. The rest is the same.
Yep. All right, his side scheme is Pile It On. Again, this one doesn't leave play as long as he's in play. So the force response on the pile drive is after threat is placed here. Again, if it's up to 10, then each player is going to discard an upgrade or support they control with the highest cost, and then you'll remove all but 3 of them. So this one starts with 3, and it resets to 3 every time.
Okay. Then we got 2 copies of Distracting Taunts attached to Piledriver. Piledriver gets +3 hit points. Players cannot attack other villains. So, he's taunting you, of course. Response, after your hero attacks Piledriver, spend 2 strength, resources, discard. There's 2 copies.
You do have to actually perform an attack successfully to do that.
All right, then we got another held hostage.
Yep. Another corrupt prison guard. We've got another escaped convict, and we've got another buddy system, and another get wrecked.
Okay. This one I think is new. I've been waiting for this. The active villain gains 3 hit points. Give that villain a...
No, we saw this one.
Was that?
Yeah, this one was in record.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
This one I know is new.
Yeah, the oversized hands treachery. So when this one's revealed, you're going to discard the support you control with the highest cost. And if no support was discarded, you're going to put 2 threat on the active villain scheme. And as a boost, you're going to discard a support you control. So you can pick it if you get it as a boost.
All right, then we got 2 copies of Escape Plan. When revealed, you are confused. If you're already confused, Piledriver schemes. And as a boost, give the active villain a tough status card. If they already have a tough status card, place 2 threat on the main scheme.
No,
or on their scheme. Sorry.
And theirs. All right, we've got 2 copies of Pummel. So whenever this one's revealed, if you're an alter ego, Piledriver is going to scheme. And if he's tough, he gets +2 for the activation. And then if you're in hero form, he's going to attack you. Again, if he's tough, he gets +2 to the attack instead.
Okay. Then we got Uncanny Resilience. When revealed, remove each stun and confused status card from each villain. If no status cards are removed, the card gains surge. And as a boost, you are confused.
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing. It does it to every villain. All 4 of them.
And then the 4th villain we have is Blurry, apparently.
Yeah. His name is Blurry Face.
Come on. Really, camera? Come on. There we go.
All right, so our final villain here is Thunderball. So on Thunderball on the standard side, side A, he's got 13 hit points per player. He thwarts for 3. He attacks for 1. Again, schemes placed on his side instead. But as a forced response, after he attacks you, you're going to deal 1 damage to each character you control. And that's in addition to the attack.
Then in side B, yeah, he's got 16 hit points per player, 3 thwart, 2 attack. And
same thing.
Yeah, when he attacks you, you deal 1 damage to each character you control. Okay.
All right. So his side scheme is Thunderstruck. Cue the AC/DC music. All right. So Thunderball's side scheme. So this one, again, can't leave play while he's in play. But it's got Gamma Blast as a forced response after threat is placed here. Again, if there's 10 or more. In this case, you're going to stun each friendly character. Doesn't matter if you control them or not. And then you'll remove all but 3 threat and reset this one. It does start with 5 threat the first time it comes out.
All right, then we got Ball and Chain. Gives him +1 attack attached to Thunderball. After Thunderball attacks, place 1 threat on the main scheme. Hero action, exhaust your hero and discard 1 card at random from your hand to discard this card. Then we got a Held Hostage, which we've seen.
Yep. We've got Radioactive Buildup. So this is an attachment that gives him +3 attack. Excess damage dealt by Thunderball is placed as threat on his corresponding scheme. And as a forced response, after he attacks, you'll discard it. So he gets the +3 for 1 turn. Any excess damage goes to the side scheme.
Okay. Oh, that's not going to work. That was a mistake. Let's see if that fixes it. All right. So yeah, we got another prison guard, another convict, another buddy system, another chaos in a prison. All right, then we got 2 copies of energy projectiles. When revealed, deal 1 damage to each friendly character you control. And as a boost, deal 1 damage to the defending character.
We've got Get Wrecked again. We've got another copy of I've Been Waiting for This. We've got 2 copies of Lightning Blast. So if this treachery is revealed when you're an alter ego, you're going to place 3 threat on the side scheme with the most threat. And then if you're in hero form, Thunderball attacks you. And if the attack is undefended, you're going to put 3 threat on his side scheme.
And then we got 2 copies of Tactical Prowess. When revealed, move all threat from the side scheme with the least threat to the side scheme with the most threat. If this scheme's force responsibility is not triggered, this way the card gains surge. Okay. So Wrecking Crew can be rough sometimes, but a lot of times it's just you kind of figure, okay, we'll just concentrate on the one villain, especially if his scheme, his deck is getting thin, and try to defeat him before he decks so that you don't put an acceleration token on the main scheme.
Yeah, but that's kind of what our strategy has been for the most part, is we will pick one villain, and we tend to pick him before the game even starts.
Yeah.
Before
the like Piledriver, just get rid of him.
And we just take him out as quickly as possible and make it to where there's, and save the ones that are going to hurt your team the least.
Yeah, because taking, if you have if you're doing an ally swarm deck, then the one that does damage.
Yeah, Thunderball's the worst one there.
The worst in that case. If you got a lot of upgrades and supports, there's one that messes with that. So each one messes with,
with a specific build type.
So, but in the most part, it's still a fairly easy scenario. Although I played a She-Hulk and died once, so it is possible that, it can happen. So I thought of a few, house rules to kind of mix things up a little bit. So some of them are simple changes, and then some of them are more complicated. So we'll start with the simple change. So one is, I got this idea from the 4 Horsemen scenario, where instead of defeating the villain, when a villain gets to 0 hit points, it stays in the game. And so its decks can still mess with you. It still adds to its side schemes. So you actually have to defeat all 4 villains, and all the villains get to do their powers until they're all defeated. So I think that would make the game significantly harder, because, the game starts getting easier when you only have like 1 or 2 villains left.
Yeah.
So if they all get to keep activating, then, you still have to mess with acceleration tokens and them doing their different powers. Another idea, and it's another kind of simple one that you can do, is change this to 1 threat per player. And then maybe if you're playing solo, then you hinder 2, so you just start with, and so that it forces you to actually deal with the main scheme. So you're going to want to thwart the main scheme, because you can't because it's going to, you only have 6 turns, and basically based on whatever the player count is. So someone is going to have to thwart the main scheme.
Yeah, because this is 1 per turn instead of 1 per player. Yeah. The more players you have, the easier this one tends to get.
Right. Yeah. Because if you're playing 4 player, you got 24 turns, so you can pretty much ignore.
Yeah. That. We've played this one quite a bit with our regular group that where we'll have 3 players in this, and we'll never touch the main scheme in a 3-player game. In a 2-player game, we'll have to a lot of times. It depends on how fast things go. Mm-hmm. But with 3 players, we hardly ever touch it.
Yeah. Okay. Then some other ideas that I got is adding cards to the decks. Now, the complicated thing is each deck has its own name. So there's a couple kind of different rules that I have for these different options. So one of them is that when you get an encounter card, you just discard it in the current villain's deck. And then, so like, say one idea is to add everybody's signature nemesis in. So nemesis minion. So, and if you're playing with less than 4 players, then you grab a couple random ones. So each deck would have one nemesis minion.
And we have done that before. And what we actually turned up doing was we took the nemesis, and if one of the villains gets defeated, we actually took that nemesis and moved it to one of the other decks.
Right. So that's that. Yeah. So there's, that was the next part. There's 2 options. Like, so when a deck is defeated, you could either any cards you added are just out of the game, or B, you could take all the cards that were added and distribute them as evenly as possible into the other deck.
And starting with the active villain.
Yeah.
So
that would be another thing where you add the standard encounter set. And a modular set. So you just, in the beginning of the game, you shuffle, and I feel that you should have, at that point, the encounter discard piles face down, so that you have a choice. You can either, when a deck is defeated, you can either shuffle them into the encounter deck, or you could just put them in the discard pile. But the discard piles are face down, then you don't know where shadows move to, say, for example. So if you defeat the villain that has Shadow of the Past, you could either, like I said, one option is to just, those cards are gone, so hey, we got rid of Shadows of the Past out of the game, or B, now Shadows is in these other decks. And so you can either shuffle them into the deck, or you can just put them in the discard pile. If you put them in the discard pile, then, like I said, you should have it face down. That way you're not, because one thing is, if you put them in the deck, is you could maybe game the system like, oh, one of the decks has only got 1 or 2 cards left, so hey, let's defeat this other villain so we can add 3 or 4 more cards into it, so we're avoiding an acceleration.
So and one thing though, that you can actually use this, or it could be a detrimental, kind of depends on the way you look at it. If you're trying to make it a little bit harder, add a module that has cards in it that will mill.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing that, you're adding acceleration tokens, because these are very small decks.
Yeah.
And so that's one way to make it a little tougher. Now, if you don't want to make it tougher, then you're probably going to want to try to avoid those, because those make it substantially tougher, because then not only do you have to deal with everything going on, it forces you to deal with that main scheme.
Yeah. And one card I definitely recommend you don't put in this game is one way or the other, because there are no side schemes in the deck.
Yeah.
So feel free to play that card, and if you shuffle a modular set that has side schemes, say, one that the state of emergency or something, you don't know where.
Yeah, you don't know which deck.
You don't know which deck it went into, especially if it's face down.
Yeah, because whenever you're doing something like that, you don't get to pick which villain deck it is. It's the active villains deck if you're doing that. So that's another thing you got to keep in mind, because this one, each villain has their own deck. That most cards it's going to be referring to the active villain.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
the decks will become a little lopsided, if you stick to having one villain being the main villain most of the time, I guess.
And like I said, we like Dave said, we came up with some of our own rules, and we've tried a few different ones that that have been fun, have added a little bit of a little bit more to them. I do know that there's also some player made content out there. We have not actually tried any of that with these.
Yeah.
So,
but like, you can go simple, or you can go more complicated. I mean, like even just adding 1 threat per player.
It makes a difference.
Multiplayer, that definitely makes a difference, because like Rhino starts with 7, and that's, an advance could mess you up, but there's no advance in this particular scenario, unless you add the standard set. So yeah, you add the standard set, and then you add 1 threat per player, and you've dramatically increased the game.
Oh yeah.
So, all right. Well, anyways, thank you for watching, everyone. Please like and subscribe.
And if you want to see more content by us, go ahead and hit that notification bell down there, and you'll get alerts whenever we post new videos. All right, see ya.